welcome to this session, a student visa, how to stay in Barcelona to work or start a business. My name is Mariona Roca, and I'm very pleased to welcome you on behalf of Barcelona City Council. This activity is organized by Barcelona City Council through Barcelona International Welcome Initiative and the Welcome Desk. Through this service, we support international talent, students and professionals who chose Barcelona to live and work, and we provide practical information, guidance on procedures, and access to useful local resources. Well, for instance, in our website, you can find explained in detail some of the administrative or legal procedures that we will explain today in the session. And also what we do for the international community is organize activities throughout the year, activities like this webinar, but also on-site activities to get to know the city or connect with other people. So I encourage you to subscribe to Barcelona International Welcome's newsletter, so you will get to know all the activities that we organize and you can take part in them. Well, thank you for joining us today. Well, we know that navigating visa regulations can be complex, so that's why we designed this session to provide practical information about how you can extend your stay in Barcelona or legally work while you have a student visa, or how to transition to a work permit, or explore possibility of starting your own business here. So we hope that after the session you have some guidance to understand your rights, your options, and the steps you need to take. Well, let me introduce you to Mireia Beco. She is an associate at Jambrone Law Firm, and she will guide you through the current legal framework and give you practical recommendations so you can take better decisions on your future if you want to stay here in Barcelona. Hello, Mireia, and thank you for being with us today.
Hello, Mariana. It's very nice to talk to you again. Well, good afternoon all. I hope this session will be super useful and helpful. And I would like to thank to the Barcelona City Council, also to Marcia, for the opportunity today and for all the assistance throughout these days. Okay.
Before we start, let me explain you some practicalities about the session. Mireia will give her presentation, and when she finishes, we will open the floor to questions. This means that you can write your questions on the Q&A section here in the Teams platform, and Mireia and I will collect them, read them, and try to answer some of them. Be aware that there's a lot of people in this webinar, so we might not be able to answer all the questions, but we will try. And also, let me tell you that the PowerPoint presentation that Mireia will share, it will be sent to all people registered in the webinar, and also we will post it on the website, as well as the recording of this session. So if you want to watch it again, you will be able to do it with this link that we will send to all of you. So that's it from my part. I leave the floor to Mireia and see you at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, welcome to Barcelona. And I repeat myself, but I hope this will clarify a little bit some of your concerns or your doubts on how to stay in Barcelona to work or to start a business. Okay, well, this is a little bit my presentation, the presentation of the law firm I represent. And to get started, a little index. Okay, so what we are going to talk or to explain during this session. Basically, the student visa, how to obtain it, where to apply for it, and specifically the TIE card, which is the identity card for foreigners here in Spain. After this, we will analyze how to stay in Spain, because there are a lot of different procedures and it might be better to choose one than another depending on your specific situation. Okay, so let's start with the student visa. So what is the aim of this visa? Basically, it's for people outside the EU, and this allows to stay over 90 days full-time, specifically for higher education and in a recognized institution. This is a crucial requirement and will be repeated throughout the process. Okay, it's included for university degrees, masters, preparatory courses, and mobility or volunteering programs. The modes of proceeding with your studies need to be or face-to-face, which is the most recommended mode, or hybrid, okay? And as I said before, the key requirement is that the institution you are going to study in needs to be registered, okay? There is a website in which you can look for your study center, and if it's not registered, then this can deny your application, basically. So the documents needed for your application are the admission letter, the application forms, which might include also a tax form, your valid passport, and of course the financial means, which is usually 8,000 euros per year, equal to 100% SMI, the Spanish minimum wage. Okay, then a proof of accommodation, a health insurance, as you are coming from outside the European Union, so you are not covered by any public system in the EU, you need your own health insurance with an organization also recognized in Spain. And it's super important, this health insurance is not a travel insurance, but for people who will be residing in Spain. A medical certificate following the regulation of 2005 of the WHO. And if you are an adult, so older than 18, your criminal record certificate, apostilled and translated. The apostille is the legalization of foreign documents. So this documentation can be used outside your country of origin. The process can be done or through the consulate or directly in Spain. If you apply through the consulate, it's usually because you don't want to or you cannot come into Spain without a visa. For example, for British citizens can enter into Spain with just an electronic authorization, so they can apply both or from the consulate or directly from Spain. Okay. The most important thing in the process is the date of submission, because the latest regulation for foreigner law, immigration law, sorry, it states that it needs to be submitted at least 2 months before the beginning of the courses, independently on where you are submitting the application. Because even though you have all the requirements, all the documentation is apostille, translated, has not expired, etc. If you don't follow these requirements, you will have an automatic rejection. And of course, if you are applying outside Spain, it is vital that even though you follow the 2-month rule, the processing time might take longer. So you have to take into consideration, or maybe look into Facebook or WhatsApp group of people who are coming to Barcelona. How long is your own consulate, your residence consulate, taking to process these applications? So you can calculate with how many time before you need to apply. What is the TIE? As I previously mentioned, the TIE is your identity card here in Spain. So it is needed for people who are residing in our country for more than 6 months. If you have a short stay, it's not needed for you, and most of police stations won't issue you a TIE, even though you ask for it, okay? The documentation needed for the TIE is a form with all your personal information, your passport, valid passport, the proof of payment of the tax, which is around 15 to 20 euros, and an ID style photo. When I refer to ID style photo, is kind of a selfie, but yeah. And it needs to be requested within a month of your arrival in Spain, okay? Again, the processing time of the card, it depends on the workload of the province or the specific police station you're requesting it in. Okay, so once you get your student visa and you have enjoyed your time here, you want to renew your visa. Is it possible? Yes, it is, but with some limitations, okay? Because one of the modification of this new immigration law, which is valid since May 2025, is that the validity of the residence permit is for the total amount of the years you will need to study, for example. If you intend to stay in Spain for just 1 year because you just want to make an exchange, the validity of the authorization will be for just 1 year. However, if you want to complete a degree in Spain of 4 years, once the authorization is approved, this authorization will be valid for 4 years. Okay, so when the renewals are needed, when you want to prolong these stays for more of the total of the years you wanted to stay in Spain previously, okay? But it has a maximum duration. So the duration of the renewal is 1 year per renewal, and the maximum amount of renewals permitted depends on the studies you are doing in Spain. So for volunteering or conversation assistant, it's just permitted 1 renewal. For higher education degrees or masters, up to 2 renewals. If you want to study Spanish courses, you need to pass the previous course in order to be allowed to renew your visa. And the same for preparatory courses for selective exams. One common question when entering Spain as a student is the work permit while studying. So yes, students can work as employees in both public or private entities, and is usually included in your visa if your visa is for more than 6 months. Otherwise, you would need to request it when you apply for the visa. If if you're studying for less than 6 months, you need to make the specific request, okay? But in case you find a job, this job must be compatible with studies, and you can only work a maximum of 30 hours per week, okay? And this authorization is only for the autonomous community or the region, in this case, Catalonia, where the visa was granted, unless you are your work is in boarding areas, and there you need to specify that the village or the city you are going to work is super close to the region, okay, to Catalonia. And once the visa has ended, and of course your studies, what are the procedures or the different options for you to stay in Spain after the completion of your studies? Well, there are different options, as you can see. As an employee, as a self-employed, a high qualified employee, as a job seeker, or as an internship. As an employee, this is the most general case, and it can adapt to different scenarios. So I recommend that if you have the opportunity to stay in Spain and to find a job, this is quite probably the most probable modification, because once you enter as a student and you want to stay in Spain, you need to proceed with that modification, okay? And as an employee, in Spanish is called residencia y trabajo por cuenta ajena, because you are working for another, for your boss or for a company, okay? The requirements are completion of studies, no criminal records in your country of origin and in Spain. You need to have a signed employment contract with a salary meeting legal requirements. So you cannot work for over 40 hours a week. You need to have at least the Spanish minimum wage, which is around 1,200 euros per month. And the employer must be financially solvent and up to date with social security. So they don't have to have any debts with the public administration in Spain. This application can be done or 60 days before the expired date of your visa, or up to 90 days after the authorization expires. The processing time is usually 3 months for the administration to decide. If you have no response after this time frame, it is considered denied by administrative silence. The administrative silence is a figure created in Spanish law in order to guess or to have a resolution, even though there is no resolution. There's no resolution impact of your process, in order to submit an appeal or to consider it granted, and allowing us to continue with the process, even though the administration has not responded to your applications. If approved, the worker must apply for the TIE, a new card, within 1 month after registering with the Social Security. At this point, I would like to highlight that this submission can be done online, and in order to apply for it or to modify your status in Spain, you need a certificado digital, which is your identification, but your digital identification. And in Barcelona can be obtained or at the Oficina d'Atenció Ciudadana or at the welcome desk, okay? As a self-employed, what are the requirements to become self-employed, or which is more commonly known as autónomo? completion of studies. Again, no criminal records or in previous countries in the last 5 years. No pending commitment not to return to Spain. Payment of the residence permit fees. Compliance with the legal requirements for the planned activity. So you need to draft a business plan, and this needs to be submitted at an organization in order to have their approval. Once this business plan, so your own activity accepted, you can continue with the process. Of course, if your future or hypothetical business needs some specific professional qualification, you need to prove it, or with previous studies or with work experience. And of course, proof of sufficient investment and potential job creation. There is no minimum. There's no minimum amount of money to create a business, but this organization will check that with your current financial means is possible for you to open this business. So depending on the business you want to, you need to have a different amount of money, cash. When I refer to cash, it's not cash, but on a bank account that you can access whenever you need to. So no investments, no properties, but the ideal scenario would be a savings account, for example. The documents for applying as a self-employed would be Annex 07 application form, your full passport, even if blank pages, as the administration need to check all the stamps on your passport, proof of completed study, criminal record certificate, documents proving professional qualification, and documents proving investment sufficiency and job creation potential. This process can also be done at the immigration office online. So again, you would need a certificado digital if you want to apply for it on your own. And the application window is 60 days before or 90 days after the expiry date. If submitted on time, this residence permit remains valid until a decision is made. So you would not become illegal in the meantime, as you are pending, of course, a resolution from the public administration. Again, the administration has 3 months to process, and the administrative silence in this case is also negative. So if no response, it is considered denied, rejected. Once approved, the worker must apply for your new TIE within 1 month after registering with the Social Security. As a highly qualified employee, what is a high qualified employee? Is a worker, an employee with certain preparation, or that their job is super specific. It has some different requirements, as you can see. For example, the minimum wage. So even if it's a part-time, if you are considered highly qualified, you need to have a full-time minimum wage annually, because the economic requirements are higher than a regular employee. In this case, if you want to modify from student to highly qualified employee, your job contract needs to be aligned with the studies previously finished. In the general case, which was an employee to modify from student to a regular employee, it is not required or nor directly required to have any relation studies to the task of your job, to your job position, but in this case, it is completely required. Otherwise, you cannot apply to a highly qualified employee. The rest of the requirements would be the completion of studies, no entry bar or criminal record, no pending commitment to not return to Spain, payment of the fees, contract condition must align with legal regulation. The employer must be registered and compliant with tax and social security obligation. And if the employer is a private individual, they must prove financial solvency based on Aprèn. The employee must hold a higher education degree or exceptionally 5 years of relevant professional experience. And this relationship with the studies finished. The documents. Again, an application form, your full copy of your passport, proof of professional qualification, company identification documents, your work contract, the proof of company's financial solvency, proof of completed studies, proof that the student has not received scholarships from cooperation or development programs, and criminal record certificate. In this case, the employer, not the employee, submits the application digitally, online, and the application window, as previously mentioned, is again 60 days before or 90 days after the authorization ends. Nevertheless, the processing time is not 3 months anymore, but 20 days, which accelerates a lot the process. And the resident permit for job seeking is really interesting from my point of view. Because it's for people or for students who finished a university degree or in general a higher education studies. This permit allows you to stay up to 24 months to search for a job. So you don't need a work contract, but it allows you to live in Spain in the meantime. This application, again, needs to be submitted 60 days or 90 days after the expiration of the current residence authorization. In this case, as you are not showing a job contract, you need to prove financial means, the 100% of the Aprèn, which is 7,200 euros a year. So nearly 8,000 euros. I usually recommend to all my clients to prove at least 8,000 euros. Health insurance coverage, as you are not going to be covered by the social security, payment of the processing fee, and proof of successful completion of studies. This is super important. If you have not passed your studies, you cannot stay in Spain to look for a job related to your studies, as the studies have never been finished. This application can also be done online, and once approved, you need to get your new TIE. Residence permit for internship. This is also really interesting because it's a special figure and can create a bit of confusion, as there are two types in the same internship permit. And this is same for foreigners who want to stay in Spain and have got an internship agreement or contract in order to improve knowledge, practice, and experience in a professional environment. What is the difference between an internship agreement and an internship contract? An internship agreement, there are three parties in the agreement. So first of all, the university or the center of studies you're studying at, the company, and of course, you as an intern. And this is not always, but generally, you have no wage, so you don't get paid for this job, but it's just the practice required to finish or to complete your studies. Nevertheless, the internship contract, there are only two parties, you and the company. If you get this internship contract, you need to prove that you have completed your studies in the last 2 years, as this is same to improve your practice in the professional environment, in the professional market. But it's not required for you to finish your studies. This is something you do after finishing them, okay? And the main requirement for this modification is that it has a maximum duration of 1 year. This cannot be renewed, this cannot be prolonged, a maximum of 1 year. If your agreement or contract is less than a year, you can prolong it until 12 months, but not further. The documents for this modification would be the proof that you have obtained the title. And again, in this case, the internship agreement or contract needs to be related to your studies. Your passport, documentation regarding the institution or the employer, or both. And if it's an internship agreement, description, duration, conditions, legal relationship with the parties. And if it's an internship contract, it needs to be signed by both parties. It has a processing time of 30 working days. And if you have no response, you will have an approval. So instead of a negative administrative silence, you will have a positive administrative silence. As a key requirement, if there is an internship agreement, you will need the medical insurance enough and enough financial means too. Other options, to sum up, some different options would be entrepreneurship, and this is aimed for foreigners who want to start with a business, but is for innovative or special activities, special economic interest for Spain. So businesses that are not being developed in Spain yet, but Spain is interested in improving or in developing these economical activities. And last but not least, the digital nomad visa. And this is for those foreigners who travel to Spain to carry out a professional activity remotely for companies located outside the national territory. This is crucial. If the company you intend to work for or you are working for is located in Spain, you are not allowed to apply for this visa. You need to apply for a different kind of visa as an employee or a highly qualified employee, depending on the case or the job position, and getting the authorization from the company to work remotely from a different part of the country. But the digital nomad is for companies outside Spain, allowing their workers to come into Spain and work remotely, basically. And well, this is the end of my presentation. I hope this clarified a little bit. And I'm now super open and to respond a few of your questions.
Thank you, Mireia. Let's go through the questions. Someone says, I finished my master's degree in Barcelona in September 24, and I returned back to my country in October. Is it possible for me to return to Spain and apply for a job-seeking visa?
It's usually aimed for people who want to modify their situation from Spain. Because there is now with the new regulation the possibility of to apply for a job-seeking visa, but it is currently not active at the consulate. So we would need to check your specific case, but I would say that it's a no right now at the moment.
Okay. Another question, what is the procedure for when you are for an extension to finish your PhD, but with paro and without a contract?
So you are doing your PhD. We would need more details in this case because your PhD is because you got a scholarship, a contract as a researcher, or because if you are working for the university, you would need to check this renewal through your work permit, but not with your student permit.
A question about the digital nomad visa. Can the dependent of digital nomad visa holder work in Spain? This is, I guess, a family member of the...
It depends. It depends. A dependent of what age, in what case, why? Is it your partner? Is it your children, your parents?
But can they, if someone has a digital nomad, their family members can work, or they can just live here?
It depends. Usually it's for children and it does not allow to work. But for partners, in some cases, it depends.
Okay, another one. For highly qualified, would there be instances that employers does not process the visa? If so, can the employee process this?
In this case, we as lawyers can do it on behalf of your employer, and sometimes they allow also employees to process it.
But the employers always have to do the process, no? Or there are some cases in which they don't have to?
Generally, yes, but we usually do it on behalf of the employer, but not directly the employee. But we can, everything, there is no 100% responses here in immigration law, so we need to check, or we need to talk to the company if it's because they don't want to start the process themselves, and we can do that on their behalf. So it depends.
And for job seeking, it says up to 24 months. Is that absolute, or do they also grant lesser time, like 6 or 12 months?
The cases I've done, it's for a maximum of 24 months. So this is absolute. But if you specify on your request that you want less time, they can approve it for less time. But you can, once you get your visa, you are not forced to stay in Spain for 24 months. This is the maximum time you can stay in Spain with this permit, but you can go back to your country whenever you need or whenever you want to.
Because I think he asked this because then he asked if absolute, if it's 24 months, the 100% EPREM needs to be covered for the entire 24 months.
Correct. So 100% per year. So if you're intended to stay for 2 years, as you are not working, this is not specified in the law, but we usually recommend to prove 200% of the EPREM. So instead of 8,000, 16,000. If you only have 8,000, you can apply. You're still eligible. But depending on the civil servant examining your case, they might consider that you have not enough financial means.
Mm-hmm. If I'm in Spain since 6 months ago, where do I have to ask for the antecedentes penales?
Criminal records.
Criminal
¿En la
records.
policía de aquí o a mi país? Both. Spanish administration can check your criminal records in Spain. Yeah, when I refer to criminal records, I refer to criminal records from your country of origin or from the country you live before coming into Spain, because your Spanish criminal records can directly be checked by the administration. So you don't have to get on purpose your criminal record certificate, your Spanish criminal record certificate, but the one of your country of origin.
Mm-hmm. What options do I have if I get the job seeker but don't get a job after 2 years? Can apply to other residents like self-employee?
If you don't get a job, you need to go out of the country, but of course you can modify it to a self-employed. If you're interested in creating a new business, you can always apply for a self-employed, yes.
It's not possible to change the self-employed directly in Spain. So I have to go back to my country.
Cambiar por visado para los autónomos directamente en España y hay que volver a mi país. ¿Es cierto? No, it's possible for you to modify the authorization. One thing is a visa, a different thing is a residence permit. The visa can only be obtained through the consulate and is the document which allows you to enter into Spain. It can be self-employed visa, it can be a student visa, etc. Once in Spain, you need to get your TIE, which will allow you to reside in Spain for a longer time. And so the visa cannot be changed, but the residence permit, yes, because with your visa, you will usually get your resolution of the authorization. So the visa is the document you get stamped. The authorization is the certificate, the resolution from the consulate or from the immigration office, allowing you accepting your application. So if you're referring to residence permit, yes, you can modify it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, another one. When I extend my student visa for my second year master's, if there are no answer until 3 months from the government, is it automatically denied or automatically approved?
Denied.
So here the administrative silence is negative.
Negative.
Okay. Are you allowed to do part-time work while looking for a job on the job-seeking visa?
No. No job is permitted because you are looking for a job. And you are looking for a job related to your studies. So you cannot be, for example, a bartender if you study law. If you are on a job seeking, you cannot work.
Okay. Can you please tell about the financial means for job seeking visa with spouse and children?
I would need to check this because I am not sure if job seeking visa can also be applied for family members. Of course, the student visa can, but I'm not sure the job seeking. I will need to check that.
Yeah, you can check also on the link that I posted here in the questions. I think you will find the answer. For students who want to work part-time on student visas, do employers get discouraged from hiring them if they have to apply for the permit?
It depends on the employer. This is super personal. It depends, but what I would say is, if I were an employer, I would have, I would hire students because it is easier to hire a foreigner citizen if you are already in Spain, because one of the hardest part of the process, if you want to hire from outside the country, is which is called Situación Nacional de Empleo. And as you are already in Spain, this is a process they don't have to do in order to be able to hire you. So it's a more direct, faster and better. And of course, this would help employers with their internationalization of their companies.
So there must be companies that are interested actually in hiring international students.
And Barcelona is, I think, one of the best cities in Spain for foreigners who want to be specialized, because a lot of companies are really open to welcome you.
Okay, another one. If I got a job seeking permit accepted, could I leave Spain and then come back? Or does my right to stay the 2 years expire if I leave for a long period?
What is a long period? If a long period is more than 6 months, you might lose your right to come back with this residence permit, as you are not residents. It is considered, you are considered as a resident in Spain if you spend 181 days in our country or more.
Well, they are asking about the documents required to apply for a job-seeking visa, and can I apply for it by myself?
Yes, you can. If you have your certificado digital, you can do it on your own.
Yeah. You will find all the process and documents in this link that I posted here. Hello, I have 10-year experience in business in my country of origin, Peru, and I'm studying an MBA in Barcelona. Can I apply for the highly qualified profile? If so, can I apply before I finish my studies if I get a contract?
No, because this is a modification from student visa. But yes, you can apply if you find a job related to your 10-year experience field. You need to prove that with a curriculum or maybe with a recommendation letter from previous companies you have worked with. But you could, it doesn't need to be directly related with your current studies done in Spain. It would be better. Either way, it would be better if they are related. But you could apply if you have enough experience in a different field and you find a job. But of course, the financial, the economical requirements of this contract are different from a regular job contract. So you need to get a certain wage, and you need to specify your role, your job position in your contract, etc.
Yeah, the job seeking visa is, you cannot work, you said before, no? That you are not allowed to work.
No, it's not a work permit, it's a residence permit.
So what she says, no, in the end, si consigues un trabajo, if you get a job, you only could stay and work if the employer gives you the...
In this case, you could apply it on your own if you want to. Of course, you need the permission of the employer to make this modification. No sé si hablas inglés o español, pero bueno, creo que los dos. No sé en qué idioma. Pero sí, en este caso tendrías que volver a modificar por una residencia y trabajo por cuenta ajena. Pero bueno, eso no hay ningún problema. Eso son buenísimas noticias si consigues un trabajo.
In the job seeking permit, is it true that one has to be looking for a job 1 year before applying for the change of this permit to a work permit?
There's no minimum time to make another modification. Not necessarily.
So if you are on a job seeking permit, at the moment you get a job, you change to the job the work permit, and that's it. Okay. What if you left Spain while you are yet to complete your studies because of inability to pay your second semester? Can you apply to the same school and come back to complete your studies? You also left within the 90 days period.
The 90 days period does not apply if you already got a visa. If you went back to your country, you need to reapply for your student visa.
Okay. If I have a contract with the university for 4 years, then 1 year search job stay, does the 1 year search job stay counts when apply the permanent residence?
But for long duration visa, right? Yes, it applies.
Okay. How can I seek employment after I complete my PhD if I do not have the contract? For having the contract, employers ask you for the residency with a job permit. Can I sign a contract with a job-seeking residency permit?
Yes, because you need to sign a pre-contract in order to be able to modify to a work permit. Yes, so it's called a pre-contrato, and there are official forms that the employer can fill out. And with this pre-contrato, you can apply. But of course, the resolution will take a little bit, so you cannot start working at the time you find this job offer, because the resolution will take a few months at least.
Okay, I'm doing a PhD, and on my 3rd year, I have a contract as an investigador, researcher. My project and TE will expire next year, but I won't be able to finish my thesis before end of my contract. Can I modify my residency as a student again?
This is because I understand that you entered with a work permit and not with a student, and then you modified to work and you want to remodify.
Well, he has or she a researcher, no permit, because she's a contract as a
contrato como investigador. My project. This is not settled in the regulation. So we would need to justify very well to the administration why you are interested into. He's not going back because it's a completely different permit, but this is not the direct, I don't know how to say this in English. This is not the logical process. You're going on the opposite way, let's say. We would need to justify very well your case, but I think there's no prohibition to modify to student again. But you would need again to prove financial means, to get your private health insurance, etc., in that case. But we would need to check, and we would need to ask to the immigration office. If you have any doubts, you also have the possibility to ask for the immigration office in Barcelona, well, in Barcelona, in any province in Spain, and they can respond to you. There are public questionnaires online, and you can send all your doubts and how they would solve your applications, because depending on the province you are staying, they can change the requirements or how they usually solve this kind of processes.
Okay, someone graduated from a university in Madrid and asks if he can apply for a job-seeking residence in Barcelona.
I would recommend to apply directly in Madrid, and you can move around the territory. So once you get your residence permit, you can change your residence in the meantime. And then if you find a job in Barcelona, you will make your further modification to a job, to a work permit in Barcelona.
Mm-hmm. And does the time spent in the country on a job-seeking residency count towards the permanent residency? Yes, we answered that, no, before, yes.
At the moment, yes, it depends on any modification of the immigration law.
Okay. I'm a PhD candidate in clinical and health psychology, also a EU citizen, conducting my research internationally within EU countries, no Spanish entry yet. Where would I fit within the regulations, or are there other regulations for some particular studies job that I should be aware? But if he or she is a EU citizen,
this does not apply to you because you don't need any visa as you are a EU citizen. EU citizens need to obtain, which is usually called Nie Verde. And this Nie Verde is quite simple to obtain. You need to prove why are you in Spain. So in this case, if you got accepted in your PhD, you need to prove a few financial means. There is no specific amount. I usually recommend between 6,000 to 10,000 euros, depending on your current situation, but just a few, and to prove if you are covered with a public system. Otherwise, to check if your PhD covers you, gives you coverage in the Spanish public system, or to get yourself a private insurance, but you get no visa. This is the best part of being a EU citizen. You need no visa to come to Spain to work or to study.
Sorry, I got lost in the questions.
I think, hello, I have a quick question regarding the Spanish labor market test. Since employers must prove no suitable Spanish EU candidate is available, does it make realistically difficult for non-EU graduates with limited experience to secure an entry level? And in your experience, do startups sponsor visas for entry? A ver. No, how the Spanish. Since the employers must prove no suitable staff. It depends. It depends on the employer. It depends on your studies. I cannot tell because I've seen different cases. It depends. Which health insurance providers are recommended for the visa application for non-EU students? Any provider which is registered in Spain. I prefer not recommending specific companies, but there are a lot in Barcelona who are really used to provide health insurance for students or foreigners who want to live in Spain. But it's super necessary that these companies are registered in Spain to provide these kind of services. So if you get, so what I recommend is to directly contact with health insurance company in Spain, not in your country of origin, as they sometimes can be in Spain and sometimes cannot. Vale. La visa de práctica conmuta como tiempo de residencia para nacionalidad. Pues esto depende también. Depende. Si es internship agreement, o sea, si es un convenio, no, porque entraría dentro de lo que es student visa. Si es internship contract, pues tendríamos que ver un poco el caso concreto. Pero es bastante complicado. En general, también querría decir que es complicado la obtención de visados de prácticas porque tiene requisitos muy específicos. What I'm saying in Spanish is that in practice, to get an internship contract, not agreement, is quite complicated as it has very specific requirements, and not all companies are interested into providing these super specific requirements for a contract that will last a maximum of 1 year. Okay. ¿Cómo vamos de tiempo, Mariana?
Well, I think as we have many questions not answered, but as I told at the beginning, we are a lot of people, and I think we can leave the webinar here. Also, I remind you that we will share the PowerPoint presentation. There you can go through the presentation again. You will have Mireya's contact at her law firm. Also, I published here at the question and answer the link to the website where you can find information, detailed information on many procedures. Maybe some of the questions you have here, you will find the answer there. Also remind you that we have the welcome desk service. It's a municipal service. You can book for an appointment, and also maybe we can help you solve some of your doubts. And also the recording of the session will be shared with you. So thank you, Mireya, very much for giving these tips and explaining these complex issues that is difficult for everyone to deal with visas and permits. And I hope we gave some clarifications. And thank you everyone for attending the webinar. And also remember to subscribe to the newsletter, to follow Barcelona International Welcome activities, and we will see sometime. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Thank you all. Thank you,
Mariana.
Mariana.